Hey, how's everybody doing? I'm Daryl, the Bearded Dragon with dadsatdragons.com, and what do you think of my new setup here at home? I finally decided to take the time to figure out how it all works, and, the green screen probably could be done a little bit better, but, it's my first time doing it on my own, so it'll come with practice, I'm sure. Today we're looking at a game called Crowe, the Drowned Armory, which is a game that came out last week on the Oculus Rift. It's $9.99. And it is a wave shooter. So whether or not you want to play it will depend probably entirely on whether or not you are just really sick of wave shooters. I will say this, that I am really sick of wave shooters, but I still found a good amount of enjoyment in this game. It's not... It is a wave shooter, but it's not entirely a wave shooter. There is a story mode, and I do that because it's very short. You go into it. It took me maybe, 15-20 minutes. Might have been a little bit longer, I'm not sure, but definitely it was an hour or shorter for sure. And so you go in, and it starts off looking like it's going to be like this really cool adventure game. It kind of reminds me of like The Wizards, or maybe Mage's Tale a little bit. I don't know, just that there's like, it looks like you're gonna go through this like story adventure thing, and there's this puzzle right off the bat that requires you to take these crystals and put them on poles that have a matching symbol on them or something like that, and then it opens up a box, and out comes this fairy, and this fairy like flies around and starts telling you about how the place is destroyed and we need to save it or something like that. I don't really remember. It's not terribly important. It's all just filler stuff anyways. So it's not full movement, of course, it's teleportation, but you teleport by shooting a bow. So it is a bow and arrow game, so it has that going for it. And you teleport by shooting the bow at a little shield. So it's kind of like if you've played any of the games that allow you to teleport to different locations using a bow and arrow, then it's pretty much what's going on with that. And then you come to another puzzle, and you have to like turn these levers to make a laser bounce off of shiny things and hit the right spot on a door, and then the door opens up, and then you enter into the final area of the story, which is basically that it's like this weird, like, it looks like ancient, but at the same time there's these high-tech drones that are coming around, and you take out a drone, and then this huge drone comes out of the water, and it flies off, and then it summons a whole bunch of drones, and then it's basically a wave shooter combined with a bullet hell sort of thing. Like, it starts off kind of easy, but you've got a bow and arrow and a shield, and that's all you've got in the story mode. And you can pull back, and you hold the bow, and the longer you hold it, the more it charges up, and then after it charges to a certain point, you can lock onto enemies, or onto parts of enemies, or whatever it is. And at first that seems pretty handy, but it does take a lot longer than I feel it should to charge up that long. But these enemies come in, and they're attacking you, and then the fairy starts raising these crystals, I guess, that need to be charged up, so you have to defend the crystals, and then all of the ships come in, they're attacking you, and they're attacking the crystals, and you've got to just basically, you got to take them all out before they break the crystals or kill you. And you do that by deflecting some charge shots with your shield, or by using the bow and arrow. I'd have to say, out of all of the bow and arrows that I've used, this one felt the worst. It did not, like, normally when I play bow and arrow games, I'm like, whoa, that feels really good. That feels like you're actually pulling on a bow, you get the feeling like you could actually aim it, like, and when you're done, you're like, you get this feeling, I could probably actually shoot a bow and arrow now. I discovered recently that that's not the case, but you feel that way. And this one just, it just feels really loose, like you pull back, and it's a little bit behind you, maybe. I'm not sure really how to describe it. It just feels off, and the aiming doesn't feel right. So overall, considering that it is a bow game, and the bow wasn't really well done, considering how well it has been done in the past. That's a big problem. I did get used to it, and by the end of the match, it was no problem, because especially by the end, when there's so many enemies coming, you need to use your charge shot anyways. So it's not like quick one, like this, like it is in some of the other ones, right? It's like woo, and then hold for 5, 6 or more seconds, and then release. And then you kill multiple enemies at once, and that part's pretty satisfying. So I was like, I want the bow mechanics from, say, what was that bow and arrow game that came out recently? Anyway, whatever. From the lab, even that had really good bow mechanics. So get the bow mechanics from the lab, put it in there, and leave everything else the same, and you got a really great bow game. Anyways, so it starts off as basically just a wave shooter, but pretty soon there's so many enemies coming in all at once, and they're shooting you from all directions, and that seems a little bit cheap to me, because we have this ultra narrow field of view in VR, right? And so to have people shooting from the periphery, where, if I had, say, the Infiniti, or whatever it's being called these days, headset, then that might not be a problem, because I'd be able to see them coming in from the edges, but you can't see them. So you're concentrating on the guys over here, and then the guys over here get cheap shots on you, basically, is what it is. So that part got a little bit frustrating, but I did manage to beat it on my first try, so it's not ridiculously difficult. Like, those crystals can be all but destroyed and still work. So it gives you sort of the stress of a really hard game without actually being a really hard game. Mind you, if you played it through a second time and you know how much of a beating those crystals can take and how much of a beating you can take, then maybe it would be less stressful the second time around. I don't know. Anyway, and then it ends with this pretty cool scene where, like, this giant creature comes out of the water, and the fairy creature goes and, helps you. I'm not going to say how she helps you. You can play the game for yourself if you want to. However, even though it's really cool to watch, it pretty much takes the control away from you. There's nothing for you to do during this part. Every once in a while, she'll tell you, okay, shoot here or whatever, but most of it is just you watching her take care of things for you, and then that's it. Then the game's over. Sorry, the story mode is over. And at that point I thought, really, that's it? And like, I'm it fades out and it fades back in, and I'm back in front of the gate, and I'm like, so start again. Maybe I have to do this, because you have to hold your hands up to these, like, orbs or whatever, magic orbs, you know how it is. Other games have done it, and you hold it there, and then it starts the match. So I thought, okay, well, maybe there's another level or something. So I did that, and it loaded up to the same match. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I exit that, and then I go outside, and then I turn around and I look, and I notice, oh, there's other areas. Okay, so maybe these are other levels. So I teleport over to one, and it says experience whatever the world is called that I live in. I don't know if it tells me that over here. Whatever, it's not important. Experience the game world, basically, is what it's telling me. And what that does is it takes you into all these, like, beautifully rendered environments that you can just look around, and you can see it, and that's all it is. There's nothing to do in them. There's no bad guys. You press a button, it takes you to a new one. So it's really just to show off the artwork, which is worth looking at. It is really, really nice to look at. So if you like that sort of thing where you can just stand in one spot in a 3D virtual world and just look around, then you'll like the experience part. But if that's not your thing, then that's probably a mode you're not going to care about. However, there is the survival mode, and it is exactly what you think it is. It is so those environments that you saw before, now you can go and fight the bad guys in them. So you can stand in these really nice environments, and there's just platforms all around for you to teleport to using your bow and arrow. In this mode, you have guns. They're like a energy ball firing gun, and so you can switch between the bow and arrow and the guns. The downside of the guns is that you can't use your shield, but the upside is you can shoot a lot faster, and you have one in each hand, so you can, sort of shoot in both directions. However, one thing that I found kind of annoying was, and this happened definitely more with the guns, where I was just kind of blasting like everywhere instead of, aiming and making sure my shots were going to hit what I was trying to kill, is that sometimes the shots would go, they would miss, but they would hit a teleport spot, and then all of a sudden I'd be in a new location, and I'm like, what's going on? And it takes me a minute to get my bearings. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but it is a little unfortunate that you can teleport without meaning to. Excuse me. And there were times where I teleported into danger without meaning to, right? Like, to where all the enemies were. I just teleported away from them, and I start shooting at them, and then, oops, I hit the teleport spot, and I'm back where I am. I guess that's just part of the game, and it's just something you have to accept. But that's what it is. And this is just endless waves. Wave after wave after wave until you're dead. And you have multiple lives, too, which is kind of a problem for me, because I'm probably never going to go in and try to beat my score, knowing that I have to, play for so long in order to even get to the score that I made, because I made it pretty far. There weren't a lot of people on the leaderboard, but I was number 3, I think, or something. So it was fun while it lasted, but when I went into, I chose different environments and stuff, and it was like the same thing. I think even the platforms were in the same places, and the enemies were the same, but the environment looked different. And honestly, I'm not sure with the mechanics that they have, what they could have done differently, but I feel like they should have thought of something. Maybe should have given you different weapons depending on where you were, or something like that. On the other hand, it is only a $9.99 game. So my advice is, if you're buying this game, buy it for the artwork primarily. Buy it for the worlds that you can look around in. The story is pretty neat, even though it is short, and the survival mode is there if you're one of those people that just likes to get a really high score and master things. I did feel, actually, at one point in the survival mode, like some of the platforms are big and some are small, and when I teleported onto the small ones, I got like a good sense of vertigo. Like, I'd look down and be like, whoa, and get this like momentary, like, my brain forgets that this is a game and I can't actually fall off this thing, and that doesn't happen a lot. So that in my opinion, that's a testament to how good the graphics are in this game. But anyway, yeah, so that's the Drowned Armory. That's basically the entire game. It's $9.99 in Canada, which means probably $8.99 down in the US. So for the price of renting a couple of movies, you can play a really nice looking VR wave shooter. Probably not going to keep you entertained much longer than those 2 movies did. Probably less time. So the trouble with it is you can tell, like, the developers, they really created this beautiful world, and that takes time, right? So it's entirely possible they started this game way before there was 100 million wave shooters coming out on VR. And at the time, it was still like, locomotion is bad, so figure out how to make a game that's good without moving the player too much. And that's kind of something that thankfully we're moving away from. But unfortunately, some of the developers who took a little bit longer to get their game out are now putting these games out into markets that are just flooded with similar things, right? If you haven't gotten sick of wave shooters, then this is worth playing. But unfortunately, if you're like the rest of us and you just can't stand looking at another wave shooter, you're probably going to want to give this one a pass. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm going to end the video here. Please hit like and subscribe, and check out our other videos. If you're at all interested in 3D platformers, I'm playing through a Hat in Time right now, simply because I've been waiting so long for that game to come out. Obviously it's not VR, so maybe it's not your thing, but I'll leave a link to it anyways, so you can check it out if you like. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.